Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Here in this video, we are going to be going over everything you need to know in regards to AMC stock and the latest developments, the latest data, as well as your earnings calendar and what to expect this week, because we're not going to have a lot as far as economic data, but there are some major events that we do need to discuss, and we'll do that here in this video. So hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, let me know what you think about this information down below in the comment section. But with that being said, I think the first thing we need to acknowledge is, again, I'm not going to beat a dying horse here, right? I'm not going to sit here and be super repetitive about the same thing over and over again, even if I feel like everyone needs to hear this. And again, not everyone watches these videos, so the more times I say it, the more times people can potentially profit from this information. Here's the deal. Nvidia reports earnings on Wednesday. Nvidia single-handedly has become the third largest company in the US market. There is not inflows to our markets. There are outflows to our markets. So where's that market cap coming from? It's coming from the mid and the lower quadrants. Your small caps, your mid cap stocks, to put that simply. It's sucking the life out of these areas. So on days where Nvidia has been red recently, the Russell has been massively outperforming. AMC has been green. And you've seen Nvidia start to kind of slow down that rise, and AMC stock has, done very well. Now, without getting too far into everything else that I've already said, I think it's pretty clear Nvidia is going to fall after earnings. Probably a 98% chance. If you guys have not seen the video that I put out here on the channel, it says warning, Nvidia earnings. Watch that video. That breaks this whole situation down in depth. Long story short, Nvidia tends to fall after earnings. The 4 weeks or so following earnings, anywhere from 10 to 20 to 23%. That's what we've seen over the past 3 earnings. Now, most of the time, 2 out of the last 3 earnings, Nvidia has actually been green following their last earnings, but barely. So the first earnings Nvidia was up 24%. The next earnings Nvidia was actually up 10%, but sold off instantly once the markets opened, and you actually only closed up 0.1%. Last earnings, you were down 2.5% the next day. So really, in the grand scope of things, you were up big, flat, and then down marginally. The markets are pricing in an 11% move this time around. Nvidia has rallied 50% heading into earnings. If Nvidia sold off, 2.5% last earnings on spectacular numbers, huge guidance raise, everything you would have imagined Nvidia would have given us. The bulls got everything they wanted plus some with Nvidia earnings. It was obvious. I mean, it was a A++++ quarter. There was no complaints. The stock still sold off. What happens this time when Nvidia reports earnings? They're not going to be able to give us earnings that the markets are shocked by. If anything, they're going to have a hard time meeting the expectations because the expectations are so high. UBS thinks Nvidia could come out with $23 billion for revenue. Sure, could they? Of course. But, maybe they don't. Maybe they come in line with their guidance, which was $20.4 billion. Maybe it's $21 billion. Doesn't even matter. They're probably not going to be able to beat that. If they are, the expectations are still so high. The stock is almost guaranteed going to sell off. You also have to consider the market makers have been fueling a lot of this upside move in Nvidia because people keep buying call options. At some point, that needs to be unwound as the positions market makers have are becoming massive. So earnings are really an excuse for market makers to drive down the stock to unwind their gamma and their delta in Nvidia. They don't want to keep that much exposure in Nvidia for this long, which is actually surprising. Nvidia has not really seen to 0 degree a fall from here. It's kind of been steady and slowly up to the right since the start of really 2024. Things went parabolic. Again, the options market is pricing in 11% for Nvidia. If Nvidia does report something negative for whatever reason, Nvidia is going to fall probably more than 11%. But the biggest potential danger I see is GPU prices are actually falling. The lead times for these, generative AI chips have went from about 12 months, 11 months or so, a couple of months ago, down to 3 to 4 months today. You've seen a lot of demand get pushed up for these GPUs, so maybe companies are starting to slow down. That's going to put pressure on pricing. These GPUs are not supposed to be $35,000. They're supposed to be like $8,000. There's just been so much demand for them. NVIDIA has been able to charge a lot of money. I think that's the potential biggest risk in 2024. And NVIDIA's full year guidance could be a little less than what people are expecting, because if NVIDIA is going to report $20 billion this quarter, markets are probably expecting over $100 billion for 2024 revenue. If NVIDIA comes in light on that number because they expect pricing to get, squeezed, and essentially margins would get squeezed later in this year, that could give you a 20+% decline. Is that my base case? Absolutely not. I think that would be foolish to expect that as your base case assumption. But to see a fall of 2 to 5% would make a lot of sense to me. That's over like a 95% chance. To see a crash or like an actual crash, like 20% in NVIDIA, probably less than 5%. Just keep that in reality. Now, with that being said, if we get a 2 to 10% fall in NVIDIA, that's probably great news for your small cap stocks. A 2 to 10% fall could just be based on NVIDIA having a blowout quarter and blowout guidance. Just based on, expectations are too high, you can't even fill the expectations. That would be good, because that would show, hey, the AI, wave is still intact, just the stock had to take a breather. Now, if the stock falls, let's say 10 to 20%, and it's based on pricing, starting to get weaker towards the end of the year, or maybe a demand issue towards the end of this year, that's where I think the broad markets can take quite a hit, even your small cap stocks. So it is a fine line between, having great numbers, great guidance, but the stock resetting based on higher expectations, or actually seeing a demand problem or a pricing problem, a margin problem later this year. With that being said, I do believe AMC stock can benefit dramatically from this, and we'll get into the price prediction for AMC later on into this video. Keep in mind, a big catalyst for AMC as well is AMC's earnings. That is going to be next week, not this week. So that's something to also consider. Because that we're expecting some new information from Adam Aaron. He's basically talked up this earnings call, saying people should listen. He's going to have some things to say. So we'll see if we get a commitment not to dilute shareholders. I think AMC stock's going pretty buck wild here in the next 2 weeks or so. But still, even with NVIDIA, I expect that will be a positive catalyst for AMC. Now, we do have some earnings that could be important for the broad markets as well. Now, besides NVIDIA, Walmart and Home Depot can be massively... Jeez. Can be massively important, because Home Depot and Walmart are seen as kind of your economically... bellwether companies, right? If Walmart says people are just pulling back, people are not spending money, if they lower their guidance or something along those lines, that's not taken as a Walmart issue. Nobody's just not shopping at Walmart, right? That's taken as a consumer is weak problem. Big difference there, right? Walmart's not going to just get weak all of a sudden. People are not going to not shop at Walmart, right? That's the best way to think about it. If people are not spending as much, not shopping as much, it's because the consumer is not doing well. Same is true for Home Depot, although that does cater to more, home improvement kind of things, upgrading things. But still, Home Depot is seen as another, economically sensitive company. If people don't have money to spend on projects, well, Home Depot's, not going to do that great. So those two companies coming tomorrow morning are going to affect the markets likely before you even wake up and see what's going on. And they can have huge effects on the markets. Given right now, we're not priced for a recession. We're not priced for a slowdown in our markets. At least your big tech names are not. People think they are not cyclically tied to the economy, right? Meaning that they're kind of recession proof. That's what people think. That's not true, right? That's a fallacy. NVIDIA, Google, Microsoft, Apple, they will be affected if the economy does go through a downturn. Maybe not as much as a Walmart, let's say, but they would be affected. And a lot of your markets are trading as if there's no recession, there's no slowdown even possible. Looking at the S&P 500 right now, you would say we are in the best economy we have ever seen. People are spending money like the government, spending money like they're drunk. And in all reality, I mean, that couldn't be further from the truth, right? So I just think right now, the S&P, the NASDAQ, very much not an optimal position heading into NVIDIA earnings as well. NVIDIA could bring down the broader S&P, as well as Walmart, Home Depot earnings. That will be vitally important for the markets. And the last quarter, I mean, Walmart did not sound great. The Walmart CEO said expect deflation in certain categories. People are, not spending as much money as they were before. If that start to hit the markets, we will have to wait and see. Nonetheless, Palo Alto Networks, Solar Edge Realty Income, Teladoc, Caesars, Diamondback Energy, Toll Brothers will report earnings Tuesday and after hours. Vertiv, Analog Devices, Wix, HSBC will report Wednesday pre-market. NVIDIA, Rivian, Etsy, Synopsys, Lucid, Sonova, Dutch Bros, APA Corporation, Marathon Oil, and Suncor Energy report Wednesday and after hours. Moderna, Nikola, Fiverr, Wayfair, Pioneer, First Source Builders report Thursday pre-market. Block, Carvana, Mercado Libre, New, Booking Holdings, Intuit, Indie, Vail, and Live Nation report Thursday and after hours. And then you have Warner Bros, Discovery, Friday pre-market, and then some other less notable names as well that will report Friday pre-market. Overall, some bigger names here. Think certain sectors, right? Solar will be definitely a big one. Cybersecurity with Palo Alto, Moderna, healthcare could be affected there. Block could affect PayPal, other financial service kind of companies, credit card companies, perhaps, and Nvidia's, Walmart, Home Depot can have broad market moving effects. Now, as far as your economic calendar here, there's really not going to be much happening this week. Let's see. The only thing that's really gonna happen, there's nothing today on Monday. Tomorrow, you are gonna get CB leading index month over month. Really nothing. Wednesday, it's going to be your Fed minutes, right? Your FOMC minutes. This is not Jerome Powell. This is not a speech. It's a report from the Fed. Basically why they did what they did the last meeting. That's essentially what that is. Can it move markets? Yes. Will it move markets? Not necessarily. Sometimes you get a big move off the FOMC minutes, but it is short-lived a lot of the time, and the markets just resume back in whatever direction they were in. Thursday, you are going to get Chicago Fed National Activity Index, S&P Global Composite PMI, S&P Global Manufacturing PMI, and S&P Global Services PMI. Existing home sales, year over year, month over month. Fed Jefferson will speak at 10 o'clock in the morning. Fed Harker at 3:15. Fed Cook at 5. And Fed Kashkari at 5. And then Fed Waller at 7:35. So Fed speakers on Thursday, but really there's nothing that everyone is kind of holding their breath for this week. If anything, the FOMC minutes could be important, but it's not, guaranteed to be important nonetheless. Now, AMC stock over here on StockTwits, seeing sentiment at neutral at 52. Yesterday, sentiment was 36. So actually an improvement over the weekend is quite rare in sentiment or message volume, which message volume is staying about the same as yesterday. Yesterday it was 55. Today it is 53. And the participation ratio is sitting at 54, which is definitely an increase over the last couple of days. So it seems like more people are talking about AMC right now, which is great news. If you take a look at the Ortex data here, we don't have any breakdowns as far as open interest or volume for this upcoming week, but it is another week that is very bullish. On Friday, you did see quite a bit of option activity as well. 7 orders totaling $289.9 thousand with a positive order value of 54%. So keep that in mind. Short interest data has been steadily improving for AMC. The stock appears to be getting more and more sold short. I believe the stock's 200+% sold short. That's just my personal opinion. Obviously, could I be wrong? Of course, but we do have 12.23% short interest of free float here, which is not super high, but it's not super low either. You're kind of in an area that's considered high, but not extremely high. Now, for anyone that's been here for a while, you probably think the short interest is higher than that in the grand scope of things, but this is the number people look at when they're thinking about taking on a position in AMC, a trade, a short squeeze trade. They're going to look at these numbers. They're not going to guess, right? So I do believe these numbers will continue to rise. You do have $148 million worth of short positions currently in AMC stock, days to cover 1.8, 30.63 million shares that are currently sold short, shares out on loan 32.7 million, cost to borrow 1.04%, utilization of 51.01%, and a short score of 64.24 out of 100. So there is all of that. As far as my expectations directly with AMC stock this week, your big level is going to be $5.20 per share. If you could break above that, that is your 50-day moving average, then I think you could have a clear shot to your 100-day moving average this week, which is $6.91 per share. Now, from current pricing today, that would be quite an up move. Percentage-wise, that would be an up move of about 43%. But I do think it is possible if NVIDIA has good earnings but sells off, just based on this relationship that we have seen between NVIDIA falling and small cap stocks doing better. Now, on top of that, I think we are just seeing overall a bullish momentum right now. So I think that can add bullish fuel to the fire, if you will. If, again, NVIDIA just falls a little bit following earnings, and just add to the already bullish kind of momentum that we are seeing right now. Now, AMC historically, once you hit 30 on the RSI, tends to bounce quite a bit. I would say you're at a median kind of RSI bounce, but you could definitely go higher from here. And let's be honest, the 13F filings that we just seen, check that video out if you guys have not seen that. I just made that video like 2 days ago. It's going to be very easy to find if you just go to the main channel. You are seeing bullish 13F filings like you have never, ever seen before. And that's because I think the risk to reward on AMC is very favorable for an upside move here. So that's why I'm expecting upside. If for whatever reason NVIDIA earnings come out bad and people don't like that and you get a sell off in the markets, I would target about $4 flat as being a level of support. If you don't hold $4, then I think $3.50 would be the next level of support. But I'm not forecasting a drop this week. I think if anything, it's a pretty clearly bullish week. Then again, though, if we can't break out above $5.20 per share, that's where things could, get rejected around there and then start to fall back down, in my personal opinion. But I think at least we're going to hit around $5.20 per share, where that 50-day moving average is right now. Question is, do we get some steam? Do we get some gas above that and can start to make our way to the 100-day moving average, or do we get rejected there? I think we probably break out above that. And that would be the first time we've been above the 50-day moving average since back here on August 11, 2023. So it would be quite significant in that regard as well. That would be now 6 months we have not been above the 50-day moving average for an extended period of time. Last time was back here October of 2023 when the stock went from $9 to $11.50 per share, but then we got rejected pretty shortly after that. So let me know what you think about this information down below in the comment section. Hit the like button as well as subscribe to the channel. You guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.